Chapter 11, I Lost It in the Pool Game. I'd mentioned earlier that Alabama Auto Adjusters did all of the repos for Harley Davidson credit in Alabama. Well, one of my Harley Davidson accounts was on a bike somewhere in Anniston, Alabama. The debtor was a young man in his mid-20s, and he was way behind on his motorcycle payments. Harley Davidson Credit wanted their motorcycle. I had an address on him, but I never could seem to catch him home or find any information on him or the collateral. I notified the office that all the information I had at the time was leading to a dead end, and they're going to have to work their magic and see if they could come up with something. After a few days, the skip tracers tracked the debtor down to a business in Oxford, Alabama. We had good information that he possibly worked there, so the next time I was in the Anniston area, I would see what I could find out. A few days later, I was in the area working my East accounts, and I located the place of employment. I first checked the entire parking lot, hoping to find the bike so I could load it up and scram before making contact with anybody. It wasn't there. Not finding the motorcycle, I parked the repo truck and took my trusty clipboard in to see if I could locate the debtor. Now, again, talking about the different accounts and the distance, if I had been closer, I might have been able to go back and check the parking lot a few times before I went in and made contact. But I'm driving 80 miles to Anniston, and so we need to get it resolved as soon as we can, if at all possible. So I went in, and it was a parts house of some sort, big warehouse. I don't remember what they sold, but I asked the young man behind the counter if he knew the debtor. Well, it turns out he was the debtor. He worked for his father, who owned the business. He was a clean-cut, well-dressed young man, very nice, courteous fellow, and there was no one, else around, so I could talk to him openly. I said, "Man, my name is Steve Andrews, and I work for Harley Davidson Credit. They sent me to pick up the motorcycle." Well, he smiled and kind of laughed to himself. He said, "Well, I can tell you where it is, but you ain't going to get it." He then proceeded to tell me that he had ridden that bike to Bike Week in Daytona earlier that year. He had been in the bar one night and had evidently consumed just enough alcohol to cloud his judgment. And in that cloudy haze, he felt like he was a better pool player than he actually was. And even though he still owed a substantial amount on that motorcycle, he didn't own it outright. He wagered his motorcycle on a game of pool, and he proceeded to lose the game and thus lose the motorcycle to a member of a motorcycle gang who were there. The whole gang was present in the bar, and they made sure that the debtor surrendered his bike to the winner. He apologized to me for the mistake and for my having to come all that way and not get the bike. I told him I'd pass the information on to Harley Credit, and he could deal with them. And there was nothing more that I could do. I turned the information in and got paid for the close. and the great thing about Alabama Auto Adjusters was getting paid for a close. It was $50 at the time. We're talking 20 years ago. I don't know what it is now. But they paid a close fee on accounts that you could not possibly recover. It could have been that it was stolen, come up missing. I mean, it was wrecked, totaled, and they didn't want to mess with it. When you work an account for days or weeks and end up not finding the debtor or the collateral, you're still going to get paid for your time and your trouble. You might find out that the vehicle was totaled in a wreck or stolen. The debtor may have moved out of state and taken the vehicle with him. They may have declared bankruptcy, which meant the vehicle was protected from being taken by the finance company. So once we had exhausted all our means to locate the collateral, the account was closed. And closes, to me, closes were better than repos in a lot of ways. Yeah, okay, let's suppose that this kid had the motorcycle there in Oxford. I would have had to load it up on my truck, get the tray out, load it up, strap it up. I'd have had to drive all the way back to Birmingham or to Huntsville, unload it, do the paperwork and the condition report, and then drive back to Anniston to go to my next account because I was working the east side that day. And so it would have been much more time consuming, and it would have set my schedule back a bit. So an involuntary repo paid 70, and a close paid 50, and so it was worth the $20 difference to me not to have to load it up and drive back to Huntsville and then come back. Now, if the debtor catches me hooking up his vehicle anytime, during this or anything going on, he's welcome to call and try to make arrangements. But and if it was family security, if it's during business hours, heck, yeah, call them, man. I'm glad for you to call them, because Tina at Family Security, she was great about letting them keep their vehicle. And she was great about it, and she was great to work for because she was good to let them keep the vehicle, make arrangements, and there's a few clients that would do that. Sometimes they wanted it, but if arrangements were made, the client would let me leave the vehicle with the debtor, and the account would be placed on hold pending the debtor making the payment. Once the debtor got caught up, the account would be closed, and I'd get that $50 close fee, and getting paid to close was a lot less trouble than towing a vehicle all the way back to my lot, doing the paperwork on it, and then heading out again. So that, I don't know whatever happened with that old fella in Anderson. I felt sorry for him. He's a super nice guy. That's a word of warning about being in the bar and putting your motorcycle up for collateral when there's a motorcycle gang there ready to take your vehicle. God bless you and have a great rest of the day.